I didn't just cost my former employer a few $1,000s. I cost them $1.2 billion in exactly 45 minutes. It happened at 3:14 a.m., amidst the humidity and the pouring rain of the Singapore Strait. I was standing on the observation deck of the Marina Bay Sands, looking out at the dark water where 3 massive Leviathan-class cargo ships were slowly navigating toward the docks. These ships were carrying the lifeblood of Project Helios, the most complex supply chain infrastructure I had ever built. Then, my phone vibrated. I looked down. The light from the screen was blinding in the darkness. It was an automated notification from the Apex Meridian HR system. Subject: Notice of immediate termination. I wiped a raindrop off the glass screen to make sure I was reading it correctly. Effective immediately, your employment is terminated for gross misconduct. Your access to all company property and digital assets has been revoked. Do not attempt to contact clients. I stood there, frozen. There was no misconduct. There was no meeting. There was only the fact that the project was finally live. The hard work was done, and the CEO, Marcus, had decided he didn't want to pay my performance bonus. He thought that by firing me in the middle of the night, while I was stranded on the other side of the world, he could cut me out of the deal I had engineered. He thought he had taken my keys. But Marcus had forgotten the most basic rule of logistics. Ownership isn't about whose name is on the building. It is about who holds the encryption keys to the customs database. He hadn't just fired an employee. He had unwittingly initiated the largest, most catastrophic supply chain freeze in the history of the Trans-Pacific trade route. This is the story of how I built an empire for a man who didn't deserve it, and how I burned it to the ground without striking a single match. If you want to see how the quiet ones win, make sure to subscribe. To understand the magnitude of the disaster that was about to unfold, the context is essential. Apex Meridian wasn't just a shipping company, it was a logistics giant that moved everything from microchips to medical isotopes. But giants are slow, and giants are often blind. I am Elena. For 7 years, I served as the Director of Global Operations. My entire life was measured in shipping containers, 20-foot equivalent units, and customs declarations. I didn't have hobbies. I didn't have weekends. I had deadlines. I lived on bad airport coffee and the adrenaline of solving impossible problems in real time. When the Suez Canal blocked up, I was the one who rerouted 20 vessels through the Cape of Good Hope before the news even broke on CNN. I was the architect. I was the one who made the impossible look effortless. And then, there was Marcus Sterling. Marcus had inherited Apex from his father. He was the classic archetype of the visionary CEO, a title that usually translates to someone who enjoys giving speeches, but doesn't know how to convert a Word document to a PDF. He wore Italian suits that cost more than my first car, spent his Tuesdays golfing in the Hamptons, and obsessed over company culture while simultaneously cutting our overtime pay. But Marcus wasn't the only problem. There was Julianne. Julianne was Marcus's niece. Fresh out of a marketing degree program with 0 days of corporate experience, she was immediately appointed as the VP of Strategic Innovation. Her first executive decision was to repaint the office in calming earth tones, while our server room was critically overheating due to budget cuts. 6 months prior to that rainy night in Singapore, Marcus had called me into his office. The air smelled of expensive scotch and leather. "Elena," he had said, flashing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "We're going big! Project Helios. I want to secure the exclusive transport contract for the new EV battery components coming out of Southeast Asia. German automotive giants, Japanese tech firms, everyone wants in. I need you to build the route." I looked at the map he had spread out on the desk. "Marcus, that is a logistical nightmare. You are talking about moving Class 9 hazardous materials across 12 different maritime jurisdictions. The compliance alone will take a year." "Get it done in 6 months," he said, waving his hand dismissively, as if he were swatting away a fly. "And take Julianne with you. She needs to learn the ropes. I want her to be the face of this deal. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. Julianne? She doesn't know the difference between a bill of lading and a restaurant menu. She learns fast, Marcus snapped, his smile vanishing. Just build the engine, Elena. Let her drive the car. I should have walked out. I should have handed in my resignation right then and there. But I didn't. I was proud. I was addicted to the challenge. I wanted to prove that the route could be built, that the impossible could be tamed. So for the next half year, I became a ghost. I flew between Berlin, Tokyo, and Singapore until my body forgot what time zone it belonged to. I sat in smoke-filled rooms negotiating with tough customs officials. I built a proprietary tracking system that could monitor humidity levels inside a container to within a single decimal point. I built the entire digital architecture of Project Helios from scratch. And Julianne? She came to the client dinners. She took photos for her social media, captioned "Boss Lady," while I was upstairs in the hotel room, redlining contracts until 4 a.m. I built the engine. She just polished the hood. The cracks in the foundation started showing 2 months before the launch. I had finalized the Tri-Continental Agreement. It was a masterpiece of logistics. We had secured 3 major clients: Autotech in Germany, Zenit in Japan, and AmeriCorp in the US. They agreed to pay a premium, 30% above market rate, because I had guaranteed 0 delays. I guaranteed it personally. During the final review meeting in Berlin, the CEO of Autotech, a stern, no-nonsense man named Herr Weber, looked right past Julianne and locked eyes with me. "Ms. Thorne," Weber said, his voice grave, "this timeline is aggressive. If the customs clearance in Singapore fails, my assembly line stops in 48 hours. That cost me $10 million a day." "It won't fail," I assured him, keeping my voice steady. "I have established a direct API link with the Port Authority. I've structured the customs declarations myself. It is bulletproof." Weber nodded slowly. "Good. We sign because we trust your hands on the wheel." Julianne chimed in then, smiling brightly. "And Apex Meridian is so excited to partner with you." Weber didn't even acknowledge her presence. On the flight back to New York, Julianne was giddy. "Did you see how they looked at us? We're going to be legends, Elena." "We have a lot of work to do," I replied, feeling the exhaustion deep in my bones. "The infrastructure needs to be tested." "You worry too much," she said, sipping champagne in first class while I reviewed code in the seat next to her. A week later, I discovered that Marcus had altered the budget. He had slashed the IT support funding for Project Helios by 40% to pay for a global rebranding campaign. "We need the redundancy servers, Marcus," I argued in the boardroom, slamming my folder on the table. "If the primary system goes down, we lose track of the cargo." "Elena, stop being a technician," Marcus sneered. "Think big picture. The brand needs to look premium. The tech just has to work. Make it work with less." Then came the meeting with HR. My contract clearly stated that upon the successful signing of Project Helios, I was due a performance bonus of $500,000, plus equity in the new division. It was the payout I had been working toward for 7 years. I walked into HR to confirm the payout schedule. The HR director, a woman named Linda, who always looked terrified, wouldn't meet my eyes. "There's been an adjustment, Elena," she whispered, shuffling papers. "Marcus restructured the bonus pool. Since Julianne is technically the executive sponsor of the project, the majority of the commission goes to the executive tier." I felt the blood drain from my face. "I did the work. Every single line of code. Every contract." "I know," Linda said, her voice trembling. "But the paperwork says she led the initiative. You are listed as support staff for this specific deal." I walked out of that office feeling a heat in my chest that I had never felt before. It wasn't just anger, it was clarity. Cold, crystal clear clarity. They didn't respect me. They saw me as a mechanic, someone to fix the engine so they could drive the car and take the credit. They believed I was trapped. They believed I needed them. But they had forgotten one critical detail. The mechanic is the only one who knows how to cut the brakes. The gala was the final insult. It was held at the Metro Museum. Black tie, champagne towers, The press was there in droves. Marcus stood on stage, basking in the spotlight like a king addressing his subjects. "Project Helios is the future of Apex Meridian," Marcus bellowed into the microphone. "And it is thanks to the tireless vision of our new VP, Julianne Sterling." Applause thundered through the hall. Julianne walked on stage, looking radiant in a designer gown. She took the microphone. She thanked her uncle. She thanked the team back at the office. She didn't mention my name, not once. I stood in the shadows, holding a glass of water I hadn't touched. Herr Weber from Autotech approached me quietly. "Strange," he murmured, looking at the stage. "I thought you built this, Elena." "It's a team effort," I lied, keeping my face mask-like. "Be careful," Weber said, his voice low. "My contract has a specific clause. If the service level drops below 99%, I can void the deal and trigger penalty payments. I hope this visionary niece of his knows how to navigate the Singapore Strait." I looked at Weber, and a realization hit me. The clients didn't sign with Apex because of the logo. They signed with competence. 2 days later, Marcus sent me to Singapore. "Go oversee the first shipment launch," he ordered. "Julianne will handle the remote command center from New York. You just be the boots on the ground." I knew exactly what this was. He wanted me out of the building. He wanted me 10,000 miles away, so that when the bonus payouts were officially announced on the 1st of the month, I wouldn't be there to make a scene. I boarded the plane. I worked the entire 20-hour flight, ensuring the manifest codes were perfect. I landed. I went to the port. And then, at 3:14 a.m., the email came. Termination for gross misconduct. They accused me of mishandling client data. A completely fabricated lie designed to void my contract and my severance. They thought that by stranding me in Singapore without access, I would fold. They thought I would panic and beg for my job back. I stood there on the observation deck, the rain soaking my blouse. I reached into my waterproof bag and pulled out my personal laptop. Not the company-issued one. My own. The matte black machine with the military-grade encryption. You see, because Marcus was so cheap with the IT budget, he had refused to pay for the enterprise licenses for the custom software. He told me to figure it out. So I had purchased the licenses myself, under my own LLC, and leased them back to the project for $1 a year to keep it compliant. Legally, the digital architecture of Project Helios didn't belong to Apex Meridian. It belonged to Thorn Consulting, and the custom API keys required to release the cargo from the port, they were linked to my biometric signature. I opened my laptop. The screen glowed blue in the darkness. I didn't hack anything. I didn't destroy data. I simply logged out. I revoked the user license for Apex Meridian due to non-payment of the renewal fee, which was technically due yesterday. Then I closed the laptop, went back to my hotel, ordered room service, and waited. The chaos started at 9 a.m. New York time. I was asleep in the hotel suite, wrapped in high thread count sheets. My phone was on Do Not Disturb, but I could see the screen lighting up like a strobe light on the nightstand. 15 missed calls from Julianne, 22 missed calls from Marcus, 4 voicemails from HR. I poured myself a coffee and sat on the balcony overlooking the marina. I finally decided to listen to one voicemail. It was Julianne. Her voice, usually so smug and controlled, was pitched an octave higher than normal. She sounded hysterical. "Elena, pick up! Something is wrong with the dashboard. The containers are flagged as contraband by Singapore Customs. The cranes have stopped loading. The port authority is asking for the decryption key. I can't find it on the server. Call me back. Now!" I took a slow sip of coffee. It was delicious. The contraband flag was automatic. Without the verified digital signature, which resided solely on my personal machine, the automated customs system assumed the cargo was unverified. When cargo is unverified in Singapore, it doesn't just sit there, it gets impounded. At 10:30 a.m., my phone rang again. It wasn't Apex. It was Herr Weber from Autotech in Germany. I answered immediately. "Hello, Mr. Weber." "Miss Thorne?" His voice was ice cold. "My logistics manager tells me the Leviathan is held at port. Apex is telling me it is a minor software glitch. Is this true?" "Mr. Weber," I said calmly, "I cannot speak to the current status of Apex's operations. As of 3 a.m. this morning, I was terminated from the company." Silence. A long, heavy silence stretched across the line. "Terminated?" Weber asked, disbelief coloring his tone. "Who is managing the customs clearance?" "To my knowledge, Julianne Sterling." Weber let out a curse word in German that was loud enough to make me pull the phone away from my ear. "Elena, are you free to consult?" "I'm currently unemployed, sir." "Not anymore. Do not answer calls from Apex. I will handle this." By noon, the situation at Apex Meridian had spiraled from a technical issue to a catastrophic meltdown. I later learned from a friend still in IT that Marcus was screaming in the boardroom. They tried to crack my code, but they couldn't. It was 256-bit encryption. They called the software vendor, only to be told that the license holder was Elena Thorne, and they couldn't grant access to a third party without a court order. A court order would take weeks. The ships had to move in hours. At 1 p.m., Marcus finally called me from a burner number to bypass my block. I picked up. "Elena." He didn't even say hello. "Stop playing games. Give us the codes." "Hello, Marcus. To whom am I speaking? I don't have any business with Apex Meridian." "Listen to me, you ungrateful little—" He caught himself, breathing heavily. "Look, there was a mistake. The email was an automated error. HR screwed up. We need you back online. Just send the keys, and we can discuss your reinstatement when you get back." "I don't think so, Marcus," I said, watching the ship sitting motionless in the harbor. The email was quite specific. Gross misconduct. If I touch your systems now, I would be committing corporate espionage. I can't take that risk. Name your price. He sounded desperate now, the arrogance gone. Double the bonus. Just unlock the ships. It's not about money anymore, Marcus. It's about liability. I can't work for a company that doesn't understand the machinery it operates. "We will sue you into the ground," he screamed. "You can try. But check the vendor contract for the software. Clause 14. License is non-transferable. You fired the license holder. Goodbye, Marcus." I hung up. Then I opened my laptop again. I had a new email. It wasn't from Apex. It was a joint letter of intent from Autotech, Zenit, and AmeriCorp. Subject: Consulting Retainer and Logistics Management. The body of the email was simple. They were invoking the failure to perform clause in their contracts with Apex. They were voiding the Helios deal immediately due to negligence. They wanted to hire me, directly, to untangle the mess and manage their supply chain moving forward. It took 3 days to clear the backlog. I didn't do it as an Apex employee. I did it as an independent consultant, charging an emergency hourly rate that was 5 times my previous salary. Because the clients voided the contracts with Apex, Marcus didn't just lose the deal. He lost the performance bonds. Apex Meridian had put up $50 million in collateral to guarantee the shipping times. When the cargo didn't move, the banks seized the collateral. The fallout was spectacular. Stockholders filed a class action lawsuit. The board of directors held an emergency meeting on Sunday. It turns out, firing the lead architect of a billion-dollar project the day it launches is considered a significant breach of fiduciary duty. Marcus was ousted as CEO 3 weeks later. He was last seen arguing with a caddy at his golf club about greens fees. Julianne? She was quietly moved to a special projects role in a satellite office in rural North Dakota. I hear she's struggling with the winter logistics. As for me, I didn't take a job with Autotech. Instead, I started my own firm, Nexus Chain Solutions. We don't have a fancy office with earth tone walls. We don't have strategic innovation VPs. We don't have galas or press releases. We have a small team of experts, mostly the good people Marcus fired or ignored over the years. We operate lean, we operate quiet, and we hold the exclusive contracts for the 3 biggest automotive companies in the world. I'm sitting in my new office now. It overlooks the same port in Singapore. The rain has stopped. I can see the Leviathan pulling out to sea. Right on schedule. There's a lesson here. In the corporate world, titles are just vanity. Corner offices are just real estate. The only thing that truly belongs to you is your competence. They can take your badge. They can revoke your email. They can even escort you out of the building with security guards. But they can never fire you from your own talent. And if they try, well, just make sure you're the only one with the keys to the engine. Have you ever been the only person holding the keys when the boss tried to push you out? Tell me your story in the comments below. I read every single one. And remember, sometimes the loudest move you can make is silence.